day once again. We're continuing on our lessons on essay. Today we want to talk about formal letters. This is one letter that many students don't want to write on, but it's very interesting if you learn what it takes to write it, and very well too. Formal letters are impersonal letters. They are impersonal letters. They are those letters that are written to officers rather than personalities or persons. So we say, as such, they should not contain personal greetings, and there should be no discussions of personal affairs. What do I mean by impersonal? Remember, we talked about informal letter as personal letters. Your feelings, your attitude are portrayed in this kind of letters. And the kind of people you write them to is always altogether different from the people you write formal letters to. In informal letters, if you're writing like you don't know the person, then it is not an informal letter. An informal letter is such that the person you're writing to, you know so very well. Your friends, your mom, your dad, they're not distant people to you. But formal letter, even if you know the person that owns that office, you don't write to that person, you're writing to the office. And why do you write to officers? You know, in offices, we have rules and regulation that guide our activities there. The letters you're writing to the chairman of a local government, for instance, might not need to get to him in person before it is attended to. Because, you know, there are areas where we have assistants who take charge of. And so if you're writing and you decide to write a letter that is meant to be written to the chairman, and you write it to Engineer Collins, the chairman of so local government, you know, the problem is going to be that that letter might not go beyond where it is posted and where it gets to the, in fact, it might not even get to the office, because somebody will like, oh, this one does not know what they're doing, and that letter might not be attended to, no matter how urgent the matter is. So that is why we write to officers and not to personalities or to persons, no matter how close you are to that person. So remember that. That is one good thing about formal letters. Now let's look at the type of formal letters that we have. We have one, letters to offices and business homes. To offices, maybe the office of the chairman, the office of the vice chancellor of an institution, or the office of the vice president, the office of the president. You know, look at the way I'm saying it. When you're writing to the office of the president, of course, it doesn't have to get to the president. The president does not even have to see it until it is attended to. So that is why you write it that way. So when you're writing, we'll get to how you place that order, how you write it. We'll get there. The first one on this letters to offices and business homes is the application letter. Though there is no external examination that would ask you to write an application letter as a formal letter, you don't write it, but it is a formal letter. You can't write an application letter because you don't have so much to write in application letter. That's just why. And the examination will want you to write at least 450 words. And I'm sure by the time you have exhausted 200 words, you are done writing an application letter, because you don't need so much. Your curriculum writer A and the photocopy of your results, of your certificates and all that will speak for you. So that's why it's not asked. But when you see a job application letter, you know that is a formal letter. Then the letters you write to make official requests. I put official request because I know that you write letters to parents to make requests to. You could write letter to your friend to make requests. So when it is an official request, then you know you're writing a formal letter. Now let me say it again, that much more than it is an impersonal letter, it is equally an official letter. a formal letter is an official letter. That's what I put official here as official request. Now another one is when you want to reply official letters. Yeah, you're working in a place. God forbid, maybe you're queried. You want to reply. It is equally official. So you write it as an official letter, and that is a formal letter par excellence. So another one is the letter to complain about faulty product or general complaints. General official complaints. Yes, it's written as a formal letter. I remember here that there was a time my aunt had a soft drink depot. A customer came and bought a crate, and when they got I don't know what they use it for, and they found flies, like two, in two different bottles. And it was a taboo to me, because I look at the process that thing get through before it's come out as the drink. So I was wondering, I said, this can't be. But the person was like, no, this is it, and we bought it from you. My aunt said, I don't make it. So you could just lodge your complaint to the office. And so the person is somebody who really knows their rights. And so the person took it up and wrote. And lo and behold, the person was handsomely rewarded, because I got to understand later that if that thing gets out, it's going to really spoil a lot of things. And so they didn't allow it to get out. It was settled, and it was explained to the person that, well, we wouldn't know how that happened. In fact, that person that man asked to be taken to the office so he could see the things, the process that the mineral, the soft drink go through before it comes out. So the man himself was wondering, so how, if it goes through all of this, so how come flying in the bottle again? But who knows? It came to be just like that, and nobody knew what it was. But it was rewarded handsomely. It was given a huge amount. I didn't know how much, and it was given, I think, 10 or 20 crate of mineral in place of just one, so that things won't get bad. And it was written. In fact, when I was writing, I was like, this will not see the light of the day. But it did. It really did a lot. So letters like that, you write an official letter, which is a formal letter on that regard. In that regard. Now, the number 2 is you write letters to place order for items, such as books, shoes. Yes. This day we have a lot of companies, a lot of firms that do sell online, and so you could place your order. You just type in and you place your order, and before you know it, it gets to your doorstep. So you do that officially too. Then letters to institution, when you want to ask for admission, you want to take permission. You're working in an institution, you want to take permission to do something, or you want to take permission to maybe visit that institution. Like maybe you're from a school and you want your student to learn from that institution. Maybe they produce something, or sometimes we go on excursions. So when you want to take your students on an excursion, you write to the institution, you take permission, you ask them if you could come or not. So those are letters that we write officially. And the last one here is the letters to editors of newspapers or magazines, or whatever you call it. Okay, on topics of public interest, you write letters like that. Maybe you're looking at you just have something, you heard something, and you have a burden. You really want to get your burden. You want to get your mind born out to people. So that is the kind of, you write letter to the editor, and you want to tell them this and that. And most of the times you have to write on that topic. You're writing on that topic. When you're doing that, you're writing a formal letter. Alright, just like every other letter type, formal letters still have their features. So let's look at them. The first thing you have to know is that unlike an informal letter, a formal letter has 2 addresses. The writer's address on the right-hand side of your paper, and the recipient's address on the left-hand side of your paper. They could be written in block or slant form. They could be punctuated or not punctuated like we discussed before. So bear that in mind. And before I move on, remember the story I told you at the beginning of that man that went ahead and wrote to the bottling company where the drink he bought was made? You know what? It has been said over and over again that whatever is worth doing at all is worth doing well. Whatever you are learning, please make sure you learn very well. Now look at that. At least that man was not going to write an examination. He wasn't writing an examination. But please, because he knew how to write a formal letter, he knew how to lodge his complaint via letter, he went ahead and look at what he gained. I don't know how much he was given, but it was a huge amount compared to what he lost. A huge amount. And he was given drinks again that he could even share with neighbors and friends. So, fine, yeah, you were saying, okay, maybe somebody will be saying, yeah, that's for benefit. Yes. It might not be you that it will benefit. It might be somebody else it will benefit. When I was learning all of this, I didn't know it was going to benefit me at some point. Though it didn't bring me money. It's not like it's bringing me money. But, you know, I have a boss. It will just call. Jackie, please come over. And when I get there, he will ask me, the first time, he just said, I don't know if you can, and people are like judging this, I don't know if you can help me write this letter to, I said, okay, no problem, just make your dictate. And he did. I went ahead and I brought to him, he said, wow, thank you very much. So when there is anything at all, well, he hasn't done it, but I know when there's anything of that nature that would give me so much, I'm sure he's going to recommend me. So that is it. Whatever you're doing, then I wasn't writing an exam. If I didn't write it, he wouldn't sue me for it. He couldn't have even done anything to me, because there are people that I met there that didn't do anything about it, and he had asked them several times, please help me with this, help me with that. He was like, I don't know, I'm not too good at it. And you know, it wasn't like I'd been doing it over and over, but when I learned it very, very well. And when the use came, I put it to play, and it worked. So whatever you're learning, learn it very well. You don't know where it will be useful. Now, if you're writing, if you're supposed to write a letter, maybe now you don't even do anything about English after secondary school or anything. Now, at some point, you're asked to write maybe in your locality where you live, in your environment. You're asked to help write. Oh, you're the only elite that anybody could approach. So please help write to the chairman of the local government. And they're like, oh, when I was in school, I didn't like formal letter at all. If it was an informal letter, I would write it well. Everybody will look at you. This one really go to school? Is it really worth it at all? So please, whatever you're learning, learn very, very well. All right, so let's just move on. The second one here, the second feature here is that it is an impersonal letter. It is an official letter. And as such, it should be addressed to officers and not to individual. You're not going to begin and write Mr. Kutei, the chairman of whatever local government. No, you're not going to be writing that. You're writing to that office of the chairman, the office of the HOD of your department, the office of the vice chancellor or deputy vice chancellor of your institution. That's what you write. That's where you're writing to. And bet me, your letter is going to be attended to the appropriate way. But if you do otherwise, it may not see the light of the day. It may not even, in fact, it may end up in the trash bin. So note that. And another reason for that is that, remember, I'm not sure you have a vice chancellor of a university for more than maybe 4 or 8 years. I'm not sure. So if you're writing at the time Mr. Adejoke, Professor Adejoke was the vice chancellor, good, maybe he would have mercy on you. But when he leaves, and maybe you don't even know he had left, and you're just writing, let me quickly, Mr. Adejoke, the vice chancellor, you just like, well, sorry, this is meant for Mr. Adejoke and not me. So whoever is in that office would not oblige you. So please learn that now. Another one is that it has a title or heading. An informal letter does not have a title. You don't need a title. You're writing to your friend. Why do you need to title it? But here, it needs a title. This is like most other essay, like descriptive essay, like narrative essay. The only difference is that it doesn't have to be eye-catching. Just write it as it is, because most times what you're writing about might not be the kind that you could coin something eye-catching about. It could even be something that would be very repulsive. It could be something that would be annoying, but you still have to write it. You need that heading. So that is the difference. Another thing is that when you're making your heading, the important words are begun with capital letters. And when you do that, you underline. Okay, important words like words that are verbs, that are adjectives. The one is the number 4 here. And we're talking about how you write your heading. Remember, we said it must have a title and it's or heading. Now, how do you write your heading? You could choose between these two. Like, you could decide to write your heading beginning each important word with capital letters. That's acceptable. But when you do this, you underline. You don't have to to start words like articles like the, a, and like words like and, prepositions like that. You don't need to start them with capital letter, except they begin the heading. Okay, but when you do that, you underline. But if you use this one that I want to talk about now, and that is writing everything in capital, every word of the heading, if you write everything all together in capital, you just write that and you don't underline. Please don't make that mistake if you're writing. Whether you're writing for exams or you're writing on your own or you're writing for somebody, please, if you've written beginning each important word with capital letters, make sure you underline that. But if you have written everything all together in capital letter, you don't underline, so that you don't contradict yourself. Alright, so another one is that, remember, when we talked about informal letter, we talked about the fact that in informal letters, slangs, colloquials, short forms. In fact, short form is not just required, it's important. Very, very important, very germane to informal letter writing. But in formal letter, the opposite is the case. You don't use short forms. So what we're saying is, if you want to write, instead of don't, you write do not. Instead of you are, you write you are. That is the way you write in formal letters. Take note of this, okay? And from the introductory paragraph, you write beginning to tell the purpose of your discussion. You don't exchange pleasantries. You don't say, the chairman, whatever stuff, or the vice chancellor, the whatever university, how are you? Hey, no, you don't do that. If you do that, then you have scattered the whole thing from the beginning. So from the introductory paragraph, you go straight to your point, because you're not writing to individuals, you're writing to officers. All right, let's look at the format of a formal letter. It's just the difference that we need to note here. But if you follow along, you find out that it's not something so high that you can't achieve. You really can get it. Now the first thing here is that we start with the addresses, because it doesn't have a single address like other type. But just like every other letter type, you start it with the address. The writer's address on the right hand side and the recipient's address on the left hand side. Now the date comes immediately after the writer's address. Like you're writing an informal letter, you write your date immediately. You don't leave any space before the address. And remember the way we said the address should be written. Alright, then the recipient address comes immediately after that, but to the left. And it starts from the margin. Whether you're even writing slant or you're writing block, it starts from the margin. Okay, so that is that. And after the recipient address, you don't have dates. Please note that there is no date after the recipient's address. It is only one date, and that comes immediately after the writer's address. I hope that is taken. Now, number 2 is that your addresses may be in block. I had mentioned that before. Maybe in block or in slant form. You can use either. And remember what I told us the other time when we were doing informal letter, that when you want to write your address, you could rule a line or faint line with your pencil so that you can have, that is if you're using a block one, so that you can have a straight address that will not be distorted. And if you're using the slant form, remember that you just follow on, like if you write the first line, the second line you start from maybe the second letter or the third letter from the first one, then you go on like that, and that makes it it gets to be like a format, a good format, and it's nice. It's not distorted. It's not like it's sloppy and that you'll be marked down for. So that is that. You could punctuate it, like we said the other time, and you may not if you so wish. But whatever you're doing, if you do to the right, then you must do to the left. So if you know that the chances are that you forget, then just the one you're familiar with. Because if you punctuate one and you don't punctuate the other, you're telling the person reading it that, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing. So that's what you're telling the person. So if you're used to punctuating, please just go ahead and do it right. It's not difficult. The first one, the first line, the second line, you stop, you put a full stop at the last one, especially if it is your address and you're writing to a different country from Nigeria, for instance, or a different country from where you are. You put your own country, and that is when you put a full stop. Okay? So when you get to the recipient address too, you write the office, whatever it is, like if you're asked to write to the local government chairman or to the state government, now you're writing to the state government, whichever state you're in or whichever state you're writing to, then just write the nation and a full stop, and that's all. Okay, so after the address and the recipient address, you start off with the opening salutation. You start off with the opening salutation. Look at the example I gave here. You have dear sir or dear madam. I'm not saying those are the only ones you could write. You could write sir. You could just start with sir or madam. Okay? You could start with that. And note this, that each word of the opening salutation is begun with capital letter. Each of the word. Dear is begun with capital letter. Sir is begun with capital letter. Ditto for dear madam. Remember, don't start one because this is not closing. You're not closing. Some people would say if we are closing, we write yours and we start yours with capital and we start faithfully or sincerely or whatever the subscription is. We start the next one with small letter. It doesn't go for this. You start both with capital letters. So that is that. And immediately after your opening salutation, your dear sir or dear madam or sir or madam, you go for your heading. Yes, it is your question or whatever, your purpose for writing that dictates your heading. Remember that. It is whatever you're writing that dictates your heading. Just like any other essay type. You're writing a descriptive, it is the question you have at hand. Or you're writing a narrative, it is the question you have at hand that dictates your heading. So bear that in mind. Then you write your heading. And after your heading, remember, you write on. And we have said that the heading could be underlined or not underlined depending on how you write it. Okay, when you're writing on, you're writing in paragraphs. You're discussing in paragraph, remember. And don't forget that we have said that paragraph, a good paragraph is made up of different sentence types. We have discussed that earlier. So different sentence types, you could have simple sentence, compound complex, and compound complex, as the case may be. And remember that you must have at least 5 good sentences of different sentence type in a single paragraph to make a good paragraph. Okay? And when you're writing on, you start off with the introductory paragraph. From the introductory paragraph, you start to discuss whatever it is you want. Whatever it is the question says, or whatever it is you are trying to ask. Whatever is the purpose of your writing, it starts off with the opening paragraph. Imagine if you're writing a letter of application, for instance. So you want to start, dear sir, dear madam, letter of application as the chief engineer, or application for the post of a chief engineer. Now you start off immediately when you get there. You don't say good morning or good evening or good day. No, you don't have any business doing that. All you have to do is you just go on. I wish to apply as so in your reputable institution or organization as, you know, whatever. Or you could maybe you found it in you found the adverts in a newspaper or in a magazine, so you want to make reference to that. Okay, so you make reference to it, that okay, you got that from that and you wish to apply, and you just a few things, what you think you can do, a few things, and then you tell them that your credentials and your curriculum vitae A is attached to the letter for perusal, and you're done. That's very simple. The same for if you're writing to the chairman, because that is the kind of formal letter questions you're given in exams. But in real life, you could have to write that too, maybe to the chairman or to the local government. What is it called? Counselor. To some counselor, you could write to institutions, to vice chancellors, to even to something that has to do with the nation. You could write that. All right. Now, when you're done discussing everything, you close with. Remember, before you close, you would have if you're closing an informal letter, what you do is you send regards or greetings to people that are known to you and the person you're writing to. Here, you're going to tell them, you're going to tell the office that you would be, you'll be happy if whatever you're writing is given good consideration. If it's favorably considered, you want to tell them that. Then you close with yours faithfully. This does not have any other form other than yours faithfully. Unlike informal letter where you could have maybe 1, 2, or 3 other ways to subscribe finally. Okay? Formal letter does not have any other thing than yours faithfully. And remember, yours does not have apostrophe before the S. It is yours, belonging. Okay? Faithfully. And that faithfully would start with a small letter or lowercase, as you call it. Okay, then after that, you rule a line. You put your signature, then your full name, as opposed to informal letter where your first name alone is required. For formal letter, you write both your surname and your other names. Full name, that is your full designation, and you want to use it, you want to write it so that whoever is reading will know, okay, this is the person. We want to know the person. In formal letter, we want to know who is writing. We really want to know. So that is why you have to do that. And so when you've done that, you have a very good format. All right, now I said we're going to look at a typical address, typical format of a formal letter. Look at it. This is how your own address would be. Now look at, I wrote that and we wrote this. I left it there so that you would know that when you're done, all you need to do is just erase. And you have a very straight address. That's the recipient, the writer's address. Now look at the recipient address. The recipient address is easier because you're writing by the margin already. So it's very, very easy. You don't need to rule there. And that's what you have from here we're writing to the principal, we're lodging a complaint and complaints, and we're requesting that some things be gotten for us or be given to us in the school. Now, look at the principal, Packers College, Ronix Avenue, Victoria Island, Lagos. Dear Madam, we know our principal is a woman, and so we have addressed as Dear Madam. Obviously, if she was a man, we would have said Dear Sir, or just Madam, as the case may be. Look at my title, or what you call heading. Letter of complaint and request. Is it eye-catching anyway? It's not, but you have to put it there. Then you go on to the body. The body starts from the introductory paragraph. Here, you just start off. You don't start saying, good day, ma. I am, no. You just go on. Let's say if you have a question, like the question says, you've in the school, it's a full boarding school, and you've been having a lot of challenges with power supply and what is it called? Let's say power supply and potable water. It's caused a lot of things. Maybe some students have had to be treated of typhoid fever for that reason. And now you are the head girl or the head boy of the school. So you want to write on behalf of the general students. So you want to tell the principal, Dear Sir, letter of complaint, or Dear Ma, letter of complaint and request. It's with a heavy heart that I'm writing this letter to you, Sir or Ma, to intimate you and the issues that have been the issues that we've been facing, or that have been facing us in the school for the past 2 weeks. We're very sure that you are not aware, because if you are aware, you're not slack. We're sure you would have come to our aid and we would have been out of this. You just keep writing on and on like that. Now, that is your introductory paragraph. After that, you go on to the next paragraph. For the past 2 months now, or thereabouts, we've not had potable water. We've not had power supply. We've had to do this to read in the dark. We've had to do this. We've had to buy sachet water with our money, which shouldn't be. So, by the time you're done, you just want to tell the principal that you would do that maybe in 2, 3, 4 paragraphs. Somebody would want to say, but like, how many words would I be able to write to my principal? You could write as much as, even much more than 450 words. Now, you're going to tell the principal that, remember the way I said it, that we know you're not slack. Okay? We know it hasn't gotten to your earrings. We know you don't know. You're trying to tell the principal that if she knew, she would have done something about it. So that is like praising the principal for the things she did in time past. She doesn't take the matters of the students with levity. She's very serious when it concerns the students, so you want to tell her so that, you're trying to make things look like, and I'm not saying you should tell lies, you should, because that is what a principal is supposed to be. That's the way they should behave towards the students, especially when they keep students in boarding houses. So you want to, after all those, and remember, you are indenting to start each paragraph, and you're discussing new ideas in each of the paragraphs. So when you're done, you want to tell the principal that you'll be very glad if your request is given prompt attention, and you close with yours faithfully, just your signature underlined. Because you are Joseph Daly, the principal. The head boy or the head girl, and you're done. That is a typical format of a formal letter. Now, even if you're writing other form or formal letters, like you're not writing to the principal, you're writing to the chairman, it's the same thing. You're not writing to the chairman, you're writing to the vice chancellor, it's the same thing. Now, you're not even writing to the vice chancellor, you're writing to the president of a nation, it's the same thing. And this is the one that we're really, really concerned with right now. Now, there are other ones, like we have mentioned in the formal letter type. You have, sometimes you write to the editor, and sometimes you write memos, you write so many types of what is it called? You write letter to complain and all that. It might not be to the principal, it might be to anybody. It might be to organizations, to offices, to firms. But this is the format each of them would take. Now, we're talking about a letter from somebody within a school, as in within the school system, the senior girl or the senior boy. Imagine if this is not somebody from within the school and the person still wants to lodge the complaint and would want to make a request on behalf of maybe certain students or on behalf of some people in the school, teachers or anything in the school, and it still has to go to the principal. Now, the person might not know if the principal is a madam or a man, madam or sir. So it is advisable in cases like that, you just write dear sir or madam, or dear sir or ma. You will be right. Okay? Say, for example, you're still writing on the same, you're making a complaint, you're lodging complaints and you're requesting to that particular school or to a different school entirely. And you are from, you're an outsider, you're not within. So you don't even know if the principal is sir or a ma. And it might not even be on power supply and the potable water you're complaining on. Maybe you've seen some students from that school. You've seen some students outside roaming around at odd hours when they are supposed to be in classes learning, and they are roaming about. So you want to write to that principal to make sure that some things are done about it. You know, cases like that. If you have written to the principal and you waited for some time and nothing is done, you could still take that same case to the local government chairman where the school is, or to even the state government. Now it will now become a general thing. So you could use dear sir slash madam, or dear sir slash ma. So whoever is reading it will know that, okay, yeah, it's not gender bias. This looks like being gender bias, but we're not actually gender bias because we know here that our principal is a madam, because I am a student within the school. I know what we face, and I know our principal is a madam, and she has not resigned yet. Not that somebody else has taken over. So that is one thing you may need to know. And even when you're writing to organizations, to firms, you could write dear sir or ma, or dear sir or madam. You could put that together. So whichever one applies to the person will pick it and use as appropriate. All right. Then I said indent to start new paragraphs, and that you should have new ideas for each paragraph. Yeah, that does not mean that you cannot have two similar ideas that would not take so much space, that would not make your paragraph excessively long. Okay? So what I mean by indenting is leaving some space before you start. You leave some space before you start. Take, for instance, you want to write, like, look at what I did here. Here, everything is on the margin. Now, when I wanted to start paragraph, I left some space. Okay? And there's something very stylish about this, about indenting. If you've indented, you left some space here. When you're writing on, try to make sure that you go along with the first one and on like that. Whoever is picking it to read would like it, because you don't have to go scrambling for the paragraph. You see the paragraph as, oh, this is the paragraph, this is the paragraph, this is the paragraph, and it goes like that. It makes it very neat and makes you a very proper writer, if I could go by that. All right, the last type of letter that we will just talk about is the semi-formal letter. Now, look at the semi. The word semi there shows that it is maybe like in between the formal and informal letter. Now, it has features just like the informal letter. That's why I said it is like an informal letter, just with little differences. And the people that this is written to, they are different in a way from the people you write informal letter to. That is one of the differences. No, you write these to old relatives that they are old, a lot older than you, and you're not really close. Sometimes you may not even have seen them before. You may not have seen them at all before. So you write letters like this to them when you need their help. Most of the times you need help to write letters to them. You don't just write letter to people like that for fun's sake, because you just want to greet them. No, no, no. Because most of the times you don't see them. Sometimes you don't even know them. Sometimes you know them, they don't know you. So that is why we call it semi-formal. It's not actually formal, but it's not totally informal. And now, if you, they are the kind of people you write letters to when you have challenges, maybe in the family, and you've tried settling it and you can't. So what you do is you write letters to them. Somebody wrote me a letter sometimes, and I gave the questions, and the child answered that question. I loved it so much. It's a semi-formal letter. Was supposed to write to a family friend after there had been a kind of problem in the family, and the problem had degenerated so much. That's what the question stated. That now write to a family friend, inviting him or her over to come settle the trouble, the problem in the family. So, the child wrote so well, and the child said that, it was the father and the mother. She plays it like the father and the mother had a challenge, and blah blah. She created the problem that they had, and it had degenerated so much more that the mother was about to leave the family for the man, and she had planned that she was going to take the last two children in the family with herself, and will leave. You leave the writer and the elder brother with the father. And, the writer had done so much to make sure that it got settled. But each time he was beaten. It was really scolded for it. And so he didn't know what to do. So he remembered that he had, the family had somebody who used to live together with them, not too far away. And now had moved to a distant place. So he was writing to that man to please come and settle the fight. And the child did something. The child said that man is a psychologist and a family life counselor. He has placed that man in the right position to settle that quarrel. Now, you're going to be writing an informal letter. You will use short forms. You will use slangs in a very minimal way, okay? But you'll be very respectful because you're writing to somebody elderly, okay? And you end it with yours sincerely, just like you can end your, just like, in fact, the proper way to end your informal letter. Okay, I'm not saying other ways that you could subscribe your informal letter are not right. They are not proper, they are. But it is more appropriate to say yours sincerely. And that is the same way you do it for semi-formal letter. Okay? That is it. You could write a distant relative too. Maybe you need the assistance. The family finances has gone really down, and they couldn't finance your education any further. Your parents couldn't really make it. It's not like they don't want to. They are striving, but they couldn't just make ends meet. So you're trying to write a relative to come to your aid so that you don't drop out of school, or so that you don't have to defer your admission and go to work to make money so you could pay your school fee. So something like that, you could make a request. It could even be any request of any kind. Okay, so that's what you're doing, and you're writing that kind of a letter. When you're writing that kind of a letter, you're going to be a little more respectful than if you're writing an informal letter per se. Then another person you could write it to is a distant pen pal. Okay, somebody that you have not seen, you've never seen. It's a friend, but what you've been doing is you've been writing. Okay, your pen pals. You write, and I've seen pen pals that eventually became friends. As in one white, one black, and they eventually became friends, and that was it. That the white had to come down. I'm talking about something that a very good friend of mine, the white friend from Holland, had to come down to, then I was somewhere, so they came down and we were like, wow, I never thought it could be real, okay, until then. But long before then they were writing. It started off in primary school, I think primary 3, and it was they were just learning to write letters, and the teacher taught them you could write to a pen pal, and the teacher just like gave them, and the teacher is well traveled, so just gave them addresses of people you could write to, and this friend of mine just took it up and was writing just like that, and the parents were posting the letter, and it was getting feedback, and they didn't come together until he had finished university. So it was after he finished university that the lady, they became very good friends, and so the lady came down to where he was, and that is it. But when they were still pen pals, they were just writing. You don't know the person, so you're really careful about what you write. You want to be careful. It's the little that the person lets on that you want to write about, and you want to let on to maybe little by little, you get closer and closer. But when the person is still a pen pal, the kind of letter you write to them is the semi-formal letter. For a semi-formal letter, you have a single address, your address, the writer's address. That's all you have, just like an informal letter. That's an informal letter. Now, in WAEC or in external examinations, you're not given a question and given the title. No. You're not given a question. The question doesn't say, write a formal letter to. No. It doesn't say write an informal letter to or a semi-formal letter to. No. It's just the question. You could have a question like, your family has been in discord for some time now. You've tried all in your power to settle the quarrel, to bring things back to normal. But the more you try, the more it looks like things are falling apart and the center is not holding. Write a letter to a family friend. Okay, write a letter to a family friend, intimating him or her on the situation and telling him or her to come to your aid. Simple. With that, you know that since it says write to your family friend, okay, or if it says to an older relative, okay, you know that is a semi-formal letter. So you figure out what kind of letter or what kind of essay you're writing by the question. If a question says, write, if a friend of yours wants to move over to your school, write a letter to him or her, telling him about at least 3 things that would help him to decide on coming to your school. You, of course, know you're writing to your letter, to your friend. That's an informal letter. So that is the way you know it. And when it says formal letter, the situation, street begging has become a very rampant, what is it called, phenomenon in your country. Write to the minister of, that is a formal letter. Let's just know that all that you have learned, they are not for you to learn and keep. They're for you to learn and practice. Please write letters. You have people around you who could even, if you don't have your teachers around, if you don't even have, maybe you're not even a student any longer and you're looking like it's not useful, it's really, really very useful. Write letters. Give to people to read and edit for you. Write letters. Don't just learn and forget about it. Put them into practice. That's when they are useful for you. And that's when they become part of you. And that's when you get better. Remember, when you practice, you get better. You get perfect. So please don't just let go of this. Hold tenaciously to them and make sure that everything you have learned, descriptive essay, narrative essay, informal letter writing, formal letter writing, semi-formal letter writing, write them. Especially those of us that are writing exams, practice them and make sure that when you see the question, make sure that, okay, this is a semi-formal letter. Write it out, give it to somebody to read for you and mark for you, so that they will tell you if you have gotten the type of letter it is and if you've written very, very well. And before you know it, in life, maybe very much later or in the very close future, you would need it. Okay? When you have gained something, you don't gain it for nothing. This is an opportunity. When it slips you by, you may not have it again. So don't let it catch you.